Just a friendly reminder, the October Patreon prize giveaway is coming up at the end of the month. If you've yet to register, head over to WTSPWorldWar2.com, click on the Patreon link, sign up and subscribe. All you have to do is be a paid active subscriber. At the end of the month, we're going to pick the winner for this month's prize, which is a beautiful prize pack provided by our friends over at $17.91 Everyday Carry, valued over $100, containing different items from $17.91 Everyday Carry, including multi-tool carriers, flashlight carriers, the items you need to release the bulk from your pocket from the daily items you must carry to complete your job. For more information, head over to d-410.com/1791 EDC. Once again, all you have to do to get your name entered into the prize pack giveaway is go to WTSPWorldWar2.com, click on the Patreon link, sign up and subscribe. You have to be an active subscriber by the end of the month. Your name will automatically be entered into the prize pack giveaway.
Digital 410 Productions proudly presents the What's in Your Head podcast.
Digitized live from
Your company name here.
the studios in Cape Coral, Florida. It's the What's in Your Head podcast.
What's up, OG5? It's another episode of the What's in Your Head podcast, and we are back. The whole goddamn happy-ass crew is here. In the words of Clark Griswold, Santa Claus gonna come down that chimney and see the biggest group of happy assholes inside Chicago.
The jolliest bunch of assholes this side of the nut house.
Santa Claus is going to bring his fat ass down that... Damn it. Take 3. Santa Claus is going to... Santa Claus is going to bring his fat ass down that chimney and see the happiest group of
Jolliest bunch of assholes this side of the nut house.
Santa Claus is going to bring his fat ass down the chimney and see the jolliest group of assholes on this side of the nut house. Fuck it, whatever, I quit. So what's going on, fellas? Why are your kids so good at saying the world's most annoying shit? Just putting it out there.
I mean, do we really want to
I think it
dive
matters
down
what
this?
they say. It's always annoying.
So my kid has had her Xbox taken away pretty much permanently, and so the caveat is she can play on it in the living room where we can supervise her activities, and then she has to knock it off. So instead of her being across the hall behind a closed door, she's in the living room in an open space and tile floor. And so I had to say, hey, turn the volume down a little bit. I got to record a podcast. So I come in here and do show prep, and she's out there getting loud, and Carrie says, hey, your dad's doing a podcast. Again? I'm like, I yell through the door, yo, I do 2 podcasts a week. You play Xbox every fucking night. I don't want to hear it. It's like, again? Really? Sorry. 2 nights in a row, I asked you to stop screaming across the house. Sorry to infringe on your life. It's like, come on.
No.
And you probably got the...
No, she couldn't hear me anyhow because she wears headphones like I do. But hers are cordless. And what gets annoying is she'll come in and ask you questions wanting to do something, but she doesn't take off the headphones to do it. And so she still has the Xbox game, the dipshit's yelling in her ears or whatever. It's like, if you're going to talk to me, take the headphones off. Just take the headphones off. But here we are. So what's going on, fellas?
I got the
Not a
McDonald's
lot
crock.
here.
You got a McDonald's what?
Crock.
That would imply that you go to McDonald's still, sir.
Look at it.
You only need 3 more to fit on my dog.
It was given to me as a gift, and I like it.
Well, you
My
were
little
also the
treat.
same
For
guy who
customer
bought,
loyalty, or
you're the same guy
For
who bought the
customer loyalty?
cup and string off of TikTok or whatever the fuck
No,
it was.
my mom. My mom went to McDonald's because she wanted one, and she wanted a cheeseburger, and she got an extra one for me.
What is it with women
All right, so-
liking tiny things? Your penis not included. Carrie loves those tiny little mason jars that look like the jam should come in. If it's a cute little crock or a baby box, it's just like little tiny miniature versions of things they like. They go crazy for.
all right, Don, you'll get this. I don't know, Mike, if are you familiar with Jack in the Box?
Jack in the Crack?
I've heard. I've never been.
So when I worked for the tow company in Oregon, right across the street from our yard was one of the first Jack in the Box locations in Portland.
Would it be fair to say that Jack in the Box, and yes, I know they serve tacos, I don't want emails, but would it be safe to say that Jack in the Box is the Taco Bell equivalent of a hamburger restaurant?
Absolutely.
It's lower
And the
than
only
McDonald's,
thing that
it's lower than Wendy's, it's lower than Burger King. It's the
Oh yeah, it was pretty rough, but the thing that I loved about it was they built their drive-through where we could take a flatbed wrecker through it, and they were open 24 hours. So in the middle of the night when I get a DUI call or something, I could go in there and get something to eat. But his tiny crock reminded me of the Jack in the Box antenna toppers.
Yep. And when I moved to California in 2002, for everybody at home, the Jack in the Box, much like their food, the Jack in the Box mascot is a generic version of a mascot. It's just a round white head with blue eyes, a cylindrical nose, almost like a 2D drawing of a snowman.
Doesn't he wear like a birthday cone hat or something like that?
Yeah.
Too?
So let me take you way back. First of all, the thing that I love the most, and I know I have one somewhere.
And you'll never guess what his name is, Mike.
Jack?
No, Steve, but anyhow.
So
is he from In the Box?
So
in the box.
The antenna topper that I have has a University of Oregon helmet on. So I know I've got one somewhere. I just have to find it. But anyway,
it was a thing in the early
back.
2000s. Every parking lot would just people still had antennas on their cars, so to desire an antenna topper. Once the antennas went away, the antenna topper market just dried up. The damnedest thing.
Well, I drive a shitbox 1987 F-250, so I still have an antenna. But I don't have a topper, so I got to rectify that.
Ooh, how's that for a
let's
topper?
go way back to when we were kids.
Longer for you than it was for me.
Maybe not so much for you. I don't know about
Mike's
you.
like, it was only 25 years ago for me. I got shirts older now.
Did you have a Jack in the Box when you were a kid, Don?
The actual, scary one, yeah, made out of tin. It was like red.
So that's what the Jack from the Jack in the Box is supposed to be.
Yeah, it was like a hand puppet head.
The little pop out clown.
Yeah, the hand puppet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you're talking antenna toppers and stuff like that. You remember when 76 used to sell those?
76 used to do a lot of things. They had like the MLB glasses and
Did they?
I know they may not have been Major League Baseball, but they had like collective glasses and stuff like that.
I'll never forget that they had the little orange ball with the blue 7 and the blue 6 on it. And my dad probably had a dozen of those at one point or another. And you could easily, it's no different, you could easily use it as a bobber. Because it's the same exact material as a bobber. It's just, like that styrofoam, type of material. But yeah, I'll never forget those. I think he had one on his tractor.
For right now, for a mere $49.99, I can get you the 76, not Magic 8 Ball, nay, it's the 76 Destiny Ball. All your questions magically answered. Get the 76 Spirit. Yeah. It's literally, I can't see it because it's in a box that didn't have a display port on it. It looks like this may have been from the early 2000s because it has a big Made in China logo on it. But yeah, it's a 76er Magic 8 Ball. I was trying to find a list of all the stuff they used to sell, but I think that's going to be a bit of an ask for a quick Google search.
So now we're kind of on to the topic of gas stations and whatnot. Do you guys remember Hess?
I remember,
yeah.
I vaguely remember Hess down here before they all got bought out, but I know Hess because, to your point, Carrie's stepdad has an inordinate amount of Hess semi trucks in a display case in his garage.
So does this guy.
Uh,
I have to get you the rest of you guys to get together and like have a trading session.
Hess truck party.
who
My
has
grandfather.
2 thumbs and some S trucks, Mike?
Yeah, that's right. My grandfather, every year, just about until he passed away. I mean, he started getting dementia upstairs, so the noodle wasn't working out as strongly as it used to. But every year for Christmas, I knew I was expecting a new Hess truck for that model year, whichever one they came out with that year. That was the one that I got. So I've probably got, let's see, he died when I was 23. So I've probably got about 18 or 20 of them in a box in my garage that I have been collecting. Because when I was a kid, I used to play with them. But once I got older, obviously I stopped playing with them, and I realized that they were collectibles. And I started to keep them in the boxes and whatnot. But when I was a kid, I used to, I liked, because my dad was a mechanic for so long,
Mm-hmm.
I liked being able to take stuff apart. And without any tools, the first thing that you can take off of a Hess truck is the rubber tires. So I used to take all the rubber tires off of the Hess trucks, and when I was real young, I'd chew on them or they'd go missing or whatever. So my grandfather wrote a letter to Hess, whoever makes the trucks or whatever, and they sent him as a courtesy a bag of Hess truck rubber tires
Nice.
to replace on
Nice.
all my Hess trucks when I was a kid. So
Dear madam or sir.
I've got one really old one from 1986, I think. It was a wrecker.
Shut your freaking mouth, old 1986.
I demand satisfaction, my son. In 1964, the Hess Company began making small replicas of their trucks to give to customers. See, they used to give them away. The first tanker truck sold for $1.39 in 1964 and is now worth nearly $2,500. 2014 model
Wow.
was the final Hess truck to be sold at their gas stations before transitioning to Speedway. The toy truck business continued after their sale of Hess Retail's unit to Speedway. Since 2015, the Hess toy truck has been made available for sale through their online website, while Speedway itself began to sell the toy trucks at all their locations at the same time, including the legacy location in Midwestern United States that were never part of the Hess Corporation. Speedway suspended the toy truck program in 2020 due to everything was blamed on COVID. What the fuck is? Sorry, sir, we can't sell you a truck in a box. Why not? Because COVID. COVID was like the number one excuse for corporations to stop doing shit they didn't want to do anymore, right?
Well, yeah.
Absolutely. So while we're kind of on the nostalgia thing, and we're talking about freebie giveaways, well, I don't know if you could really call this freebie.
Hold on. Let's not fast forward. Do you want some of the breakdowns of the different styles, or do you just want the last few years and maybe the ones you have?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, because I have all the annual holiday releases going back to 1964.
All of them?
From 64 to 23.
Oh, wait. They just came out with 2024.
Yep. A box set of 3 trucks related to the 2010 Hess truck and jet, the 2013 truck and tractor, and the 2020 Hess ambulance and rescue set. So what years do you think you started getting those, Mike?
Mid-90s?
Mid-90s. Okay, we're going to go back to 1995. I think you all have seen this one, the truck and helicopter. Do you have the truck and helicopter?
The semi-truck and helicopter?
I'm assuming you can't put a helicopter in the back of an F-150, fella. So, yeah, I'm assuming it's a flatbed semi with a fucking helicopter on back.
Yes, I have that one.
Okay, let's go back a year prior. Do you have the rescue truck? This marked the 30th anniversary of the Hess toy truck.
I'd have to see it. So let me look up a 94 Hess truck.
Ironically, it was a 91 S10.
No, it wasn't.
It was a 90,
Okay.
It was a 92 Freightliner.
Images. Yes, I have that one.
Oh, maybe you went back even earlier. Do you have the patrol car? This was the first toy car made by Hess. I'm assuming it's a police car.
I may or may not have that one. I don't remember.
He turned the patrol car into a suppository, so we're going to stop at 94 with the rescue truck. So 95, you would have had the truck and helicopter.
Yeah.
96, the emergency truck.
Yep, I definitely have the truck and helicopter.
Truck with racers. I'm guessing me and pit crew.
Gasoline fire truck thing.
It just says
96?
1997. No, 96 was the emergency truck. 97 was the truck and racer.
One.
97 would be the.
I do have 97.
Do you have the RV with motorcycle and sand buggy?
Yes, and that little side door is spring loaded.
And it smacks you in the lip, makes you cry. 1999 was a truck and a space shuttle.
I've got it.
Fire truck in 2000.
It had a satellite that would come out that was also spring loaded on a very slow gear set that would raise up like this.
Did you have the helicopter?
It would flash beacons.
They really got their money out of this helicopter. Did you get the helicopter, the motorcycle, and cruiser?
Was that 2000?
2001.
Ooh. You know what? I don't think I got. Oh wait, I did get the 2000 model too.
The fire truck.
01. What was it? What was it?
Oh, the 2001, I already said. It was the helicopter with motorcycle and a cruiser. It's like they made a hodgepodge gift set from the past toys. We'll take the helicopter from 1995. We'll get
I had that one.
Where was the cruiser from previously? We'll get the motorcycle from 1998 and the cruiser.
I had 2000. I had 2001. 2002 was the airplane. I've got that one.
And so what was the last year you finally, this whole tradition just...
I don't know.
Truck
I
and
did
jet.
have 2003s.
How about truck with front end loader? 2008.
I did not have 2010.
Okay.
So I would have been in 2010. I would have been. 18.
So how the fine people at Hess operate? In 2009, he could have got a race car and racers, but prior to 2009, you had to buy a truck that came with the racers in 1997. And then in 2003, you finally got the race car. So you got the racers in 1997, and then you finally got the race car in 2003, and then in 2009, they finally gave you the race car with the racer together. So yeah. So Morgan, you were jumping onto another set of collectibles, or something else?
I'm old enough that my grandparents were, World War II era folks.
Uh-huh.
And my grandfather had a lot of new cars because he was a bigwig with the Kirby vacuum cleaner company.
Ooh.
So he would get, new Cadillacs every couple of years.
And don't fool yourself. $500 for a vacuum cleaner in 1989 was a lot of goddamn money.
Considering they're like $3,000 now.
Like 1948. So my great aunt and uncle had a strawberry farm in southwestern Washington, and my grandparents would help them go and help them pick berries every couple of weekends. So on the way home back to Portland one Saturday, my grandfather decided that he was going to go buy a new Cadillac for my grandmother. Rolls into the Cadillac dealership in their, berry picking clothes, Looked like they didn't have two nickels to rub together. But in the trunk of his car, he had enough cash to buy a brand new Cadillac.
Damn.
So,
Which
you
back
know,
then was about
salesman,
$47.50.
yeah. I mean, it was, not a lot, but still.
Well, at the time, that was a lot of
Well,
money.
well, yeah, by today's standards, you could buy a Big Mac with it. But uh, so uh, salesman didn't give him the time of day. And he got really pissed off because he was a hothead. So he packs my grandmother up in the car and they drive over to the Lincoln dealership, pay cash for a brand new 1965 Lincoln Continental.
Damn.
So out in my garage, I have some of the freebies that they, swag, whatever you want to call it, that they sent when you bought a brand new Continental. I have a paperweight with her name on it and a Lincoln hood ornament. And I also have a scale model of a 1965 Lincoln Continental, little plastic, whatever. And in the box still with her name and address and everything on it.
Nice.
I mean, now you're lucky if you get an air freshener when you buy a new car.
You don't even get that.
No,
But-
if you're fancy, they'll throw one of those smelly silica packets under your passenger seat.
Yeah.
All right.
Fun
So
fact.
while we're on,
Fun fact.
Okay.
$100 in 1948, you said, right?
yeah, that's when he started selling Kirby's.
Now, this website's not up to date to 2024, but $100 in 1948 adjusted to inflation in 2023. How much, Mike?
100?
$100 in 1948 would be the equivalent to what in 2023?
I'm going to go 10 grand.
This episode is brought to you by our friends over at Fume. Fume cartridges are crafted from medical-grade polyester designed for use with essential oils. Fume, a non-vape, non-nicotine, non-tobacco device, works by replacing the hand-to-mouth fixation, calming nervous tension through fidgeting, and distracts you from the bad habits with delicious flavors. Psychologists have shown stopping a bad habit cold turkey is very hard for your brain. The Fume handheld device has a built-in fidget, also has a weight similar to most vape pens. If you're interested in replacing old bad habits with new good habits, head on over to tryfume.com/D410M and get yourself a free pack of toppers with your purchase. The toppers is a perfect new accessory designed with your comfort in mind. Slip it onto the mouthpiece for a softer, warmer feel. So replace those old habits with a new habit, a good habit. Simply go to tryfume.com/D410M. That's tryfume.com/D410M. I mean, Morgan?
$1,248.
Holy shit. $1,264.32. You're pretty damn close.
Oh, I was way off.
It's crazy. My dad and I will watch that Match Game 77, right? And
Dumb Dora was so dumb.
how dumb was she? And so depending on how well you did, you could win anywhere. The final question is either you're playing for $1,000 or for or up to $5,000.
Oh, 5,000. Okay.
Let's see,
Was
5,000.
that the Star Wheel?
No, they didn't have that. Stan made that up. Well, it didn't have the tar star. It was just you had to choose. What did I say? 1977. If this website will let me. And so I was watching these people win like $5,000, and they never really said anything. But I kind of got the idea the cutoff was about 15 grand because once somebody won 15 grand, they won again. The next episode, they're gone. So I think maybe for tax reasons they had to keep them under 20 grand because. You know how much money $5,000 was in 1977 compared to 2023? Imagine going on a game show, something stupid where you just got to match 6 questions and possibly walk out there with the equivalent of $25,140.43. That's like you could buy a fucking house for that damn near almost. To go on there, it's like
So
Back in 77?
yeah.
My parents' first house
Go
was
home and buy 4 Pintos.
$49,000.
Yeah.
49.
$49,000.
Back
And it
when?
was a nice house. 1972.
Wow. My grandfather built his house in Jersey off the interstate.
What's that?
What exit?
In Jersey? Oh, I don't remember.
I want to show you guys a cool collectible. Sadly, it has no family provenance to it. I found it at a thrift store. But people jokingly
Somebody's family.
Yeah, people jokingly do those TikToks because they make fun of their wives with the Stanley cooler and they pull out their Stanley thermos. Oh, I'm thinking they're cool. Look at this fucking thing, right?
Ooh.
Oh, look at
You
that.
ain't seen nothing
Yeah.
yet. You ain't seen nothing yet.
Oh, does it have the thermos in it still?
Oh, shit.
No way.
Well,
Look at that.
I'm going to blow your mind. You know how old this is?
40s,
A fucking
30s?
cork.
Wow.
Wow.
It still has the liner in it.
What is that, ceramic?
Recognize that logo?
Thermos. Okay.
This is
Holy
Thermos
shit.
brand. It's rusty as all hell.
Are there any dates on it?
I could not find a date stamp. Still has the basket to hold the thermos in it.
Oh,
Wow.
man.
It does have a serial number. Actually, hold on. No, I lied to you. It's backwards because it's stamped from the inside. I'm going to guess the serial number. The beginning is the year, and then maybe the month and the day, because it says 1915912. So I'm guessing this is probably made in September of 1915. I mean,
Oh,
you know it's
man.
old when it has a cork. Doesn't have a screw. The thermos has the cup for those listening at home, but it does not have the white vinyl screw-on lid. It has a cork you cram in there. That's factory with
Wow.
a cork. It's so old. Like the metal hinges. I got the numb teeth like when you used to scratch your fingers down the chalkboard. I have numb teeth right now just from opening that thing.
That's
So-
interesting.
So while we're in the Wayback Machine here, when I was in basic training
Uh-oh.
in 1991, they came along and said, "Hey, we need your mess kit."
I wasn't even born yet.
Shut the fuck up.
He was still swimming around in his father's ball
He was
sack.
a twinkle in his daddy's eye.
That's right.
You know,
I was.
the worst thing a father could say to his kid? The best
What?
parts of you ran down your mama's ass.
What month did you go to basic training?
I showed up at Fort Dix, New Jersey, February 14th, 1991.
I was
Yeah, I wasn't even conceived yet.
in let's see. I think I was in 5th grade or 6th grade. I was in 7th grade in 93. So yeah.
Okay. So we were out in the field and they came along and they said, "Hey, we need your mess kits and your canteen cup."
Not the canteen,
And we're
just
like,
the cup
The
and
okay.
the
tin.
Just a cup, yeah.
Okay.
So all the stuff was World War II leftover aluminum stuff.
Uh-huh.
And apparently aluminum poisoning is pretty bad for you.
Per
So they snatched up all that stuff and gave us new they gave us new stuff, which was Vietnam era stuff.
Was it plastic
So-
yet, or was it still metal?
No, it was still metal. It was just less toxic, I guess.
A little less.
I have 2. I'm looking at 2 of them right now, but the rest of them are out in the garage. I got 2 of the porcelain canteens. They're black porcelain. They came out them in
Nice.
the early 40s, limited run, because what they found is that the porcelain would chip off. and they were more expensive, and it was not keeping the water any colder. I have 3 mess kits. I think the oldest one's from actually a little bit. No, I think the oldest one's like 1939. But I jokingly tell people, to your point, Morgan. Oh, I see these videos we're talking about. Make sure your Stanley's clean and this and that. I'm like, I spend my weekend drinking out of 85-year-old metal canteens where our idea of washing them out is to just drain the water and then let it dry. We don't fucking wash them. The rust is still there. I think my oldest mess kit's from 1940-ish. I got 3 or 4 of those. Which all that shit comes great in hurricanes when you have no electricity and you're cooking on a cook stove. It's like,
well, just be careful because apparently aluminum poisoning makes you a little bit retarded, which would explain a lot for me.
See, my canteens were left over from your era, actually.
I think I have one.
See, they're only fucking 20 to 25 years behind when it comes to shit like that. So. Yeah,
but what's worse?
I still had, what was it? What was your camo called?
BDUs.
Was it
yeah,
BDU?
I had BDUs. So when I was in basic training, we had World War II steel pots. And I thought I was the shit when I got to my unit and they issued me a Kevlar.
Right. Yeah, see, like we were still getting like some guys were getting issued fucking woodland camo shit.
Yeah, exactly.
In training.
That's exactly what I had during basic training.
I had to stand up and guess. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them in front of me.
Do you have one of the newer Kevlars, or you still have? Yours are all the old styles?
The newest thing I have, which is very cool, which there's actually a market for them now because the young kids are reenacting Gulf War.
Yeah.
When I worked at Stan and Haney, someone's brother-in-law brought an Iraqi Gulf War helmet back, which is basically a super thick M1 helmet liner that they called the ballistic helmet. Has the same exact webbing that an M1 helmet liner is, but it's more modern, and it has all the Muslim writing on it and shit. And so kids are reenacting Gulf War, and some of them are dressing up as Iraqis, and like, I can't do it because it was given to me by a fan, but I could easily sell that helmet on Facebook for like $350 right now.
Sure.
Because they're looking for them.
All right, so I want to keep hijacking this for a little bit longer.
I wish somebody hijacked something, but yeah.
All right, so I'm going to hit you first, Don.
What was your first car? First car. Tell me you're born under a bad sign without telling me you're born under a bad sign. As I previously said, I was in middle school in 1993. My brother was just graduating high school. So if you fast forward a few years, this new era truck came out in 1990. It was the 1991 Chevy S10. Back when poor people could get an S10 with no bumper, no stereo, one side mirror, and fucking no power steering, no speed, nothing. Just a base model 4-banger S10. Now, we were making the transition from the bad side of Columbus, Hamilton Township area, to Grove City, which is essentially Cape Coral minus the canals. And while the house is being built, my brother needed a way to get to Grove City without taking a bus, so my dad bought him a 1991 Chevy S10. To be fair, my brother went and got John McDonald's and made the car payments, but either way, my dad put the money down and got it brand new off the lot. No car stereo, no bumper, base model. Bench seat, 4-banger, 5-speed.
What I had.
No AC.
Mine had AC.
And my brother wrecked it, rebuilt it, got in trouble, pissed my dad off. My dad took it away from him. Burnt the clutch out pulling a pontoon boat that was way too big and way too heavy to ever intended for a base model S10 with a Sears catalog bumper on the back.
So it was like a 12-foot.
Oh, a 12-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot. It was a big fucking heavy-ass freshwater kayak made in 1995. So probably the floors are made out of 3/4-inch plywood. Thing was weighed a ton, and it burnt the clutch up in this thing. So he finally put a new clutch in it, And then my 17th birthday rolled around. He said, boy, do I got a deal for you. How would you like a slightly loved 1991 Chevy S10? All you got to do is pay me $99 a month. So I got my brother's beat up, put away wet, hand-me-down fucking truck that already been in an accident, had a new front end, and my dad burnt through the clutch. So I had that thing from 1996 all the way through high school. No. Yes, 1996, and then 1998 after I graduated, maybe 99, the engine blew up. Imagine that. Probably all the years from pulling the fucking jet ski. I mean, not the jet ski, but the S10. I did pull a jet ski to Kentucky Lake, but... And so I sold it for nothing. And then like 6 months later, I get a letter from Chevy wanting to buy it back because they believed it had a defective motor. By that time, I was on to my second car. Now, boys, don't get jealous. I know how you all about off-road and four-wheel drive trucks. And I came, once again, I born with a silver spoon in my mouth, nice beat-up 1991 S10, 1996. Worked at Wendy's to pay for it. My dad took me down to the bank, co-signed for me. Bought out of the front of a farm.
Dust that shoulder off.
A 1989 Suzuki Samurai.
Ooh, classy right there.
With aftermarket rims. They weren't small rims, but they're Optima Hammer rims. They did stick out about 3 inches.
You didn't have Dayton's?
No, they did stick out about 3 inches, so it was no longer top heavy, so it wouldn't roll because the guy, put some nice rims on it for his wife. I rocked that bad boy from 19. Now, the nice thing about that is at this point, after I moved out of my fun fact, and not to get away from the question, but as soon as I turned 18, I moved out of my dad's house, moved in with as a roommate, not a girlfriend, as a roommate, because as white males we're such homophobes. My first roommate out of high school was a bisexual woman, and me and the girl I was dating, I had an apartment with a bisexual, and then her gay friend Donnie. The four of us would go to actual adult bookstores called the Lion's Den and buy porn on VHS. So while me and my girlfriend were shopping, Donnie was looking for gay porn, and then she was getting lesbian porn, because we're all such big homophobes, us old people. And so when I lived and after I moved out of there, I moved into the ghetto with my future bandmate. We lived in North Harris on the hilltop of Columbus. The house that we moved out of after I moved to California and my old roommate got the house repossessed because he didn't pay his bills, someone bought it and rented it. The next people who moved into it were in the newspaper for imprisoning someone who owed them money and keeping them in a dog kennel in the basement. But this house was the only one with a driveway because these are old houses built in the early 1900s on the west side of Columbus. And so everybody parked in the street. So in the wintertime, you get all the snow. They couldn't run a snow plow down the street because everybody's parked in the street. So luckily with my 1989 Suzuki Samurai, I had four-wheel drive. So these snow banks are nothing for me. I used to go hauling ass down the fucking alley behind the house and just snow flaring up and running over snowmen and all kinds of shit. That fucking little Jeep was fun, but it fell apart, and born with a silver spoon in my mouth. My next car. So we went from a 1991 Chevy S10 base model to a 1989 Suzuki Somersault. Went to buy here, pay here lot. Got myself a sweet ass 1991 Chevy Escort LX, Ford Escort LX, baby, with the Mazda engine in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you're talking.
I know you kids are jealous that I've come from a long line of luxury.
That's right.
Long line.
All right, Mike, what was your first car?
Or four, if you want to follow me.
Are we talking
the first car out the box? No, the first car that you drove as your daily driver.
16 years old, got your license. It's like, I'm the shit. This is what I'm driving.
A 1997 Chevy Blazer.
Ooh.
Two-wheel drive.
Damn, you're high rolling, bro.
That was the new body style.
Yeah. That was like Gen fucking 3.
Yeah, because for
Was it
those you playing
Slam?
at home,
No.
the Blazer
that.
was basically the SUV version of my S10.
Yes.
And how the body styles went in the 80s, they were basically a mini. They weren't square body, but they had square bodies.
It was basically a mini
Oh,
square
they were-
body. Yes.
And the S10 logo was up on the door jamb, but below the mirror. And it stayed that way. And then the 90s came along, and Don's truck came out. They moved that motherfucker down to the bottom of the door. That's how you knew the difference between a 1990 S10 and a 1991.
On the belt line.
I didn't have the belt line. I had the
yeah,
base
on that-
model,
on
sir.
that
There
trim.
was no belt line. I didn't have the
trim
rubber
line.
belt. And they started to, got to remember too, they upgraded from the old style chrome grill with the horizontal slots to the nice matte black rounded grill with the gold bow tie and the plastic crisscross mesh front. That's what my S10 had. Ooh,
Yeah.
I'm going to fucking blow your all's mind.
So that was my dad's daily driver back and forth to work. My mom had the 2005 GMC Sierra
Ooh, same truck.
that every once in a while, because that was her baby, every once in a while I would get to drive that because they knew that I had a hot foot and that had a V8 in it. And, being a freaking, son of a mechanic, putting your foot to the floor and that thing was like, this is fun.
All right, let's.
That was the first that I got to drive at whenever I got my license. But the first vehicle that I bought myself to drive for myself was a 1983 Chevy Custom Deluxe.
Nice.
3 on the tree.
All right,
Was a what?
hang on. Give me
Dude,
just 2 minutes, and I'll be right back.
What'd you say
Okay.
it was? It was a what?
It was the first car that I've never owned anything but trucks or mid-size SUVs.
Butt trucks. Is that gay stuff?
The first vehicle that I bought myself was a 1983 Custom Deluxe Chevy 1500,
I
and
forgot.
it had 3 on the tree.
I cut it into a montage.
Oh,
I'm just gonna pull the
I'm
page
getting
up.
some really bad interference in my ears right now.
Is it from me? Am I the
No,
problem?
it's this fucking audio box.
Audio Box. That's a shitty brand.
What, you don't like Personas?
So after, so I had the while we're killing time here, I had the luxury because it's in the name. LX stands for luxury. I had the 1991 Ford Escort LX, which if you go on Google and look at the Ford Escort Cosworths over in UK from 91, those things are badass.
Those were badass machines.
I used to fantasize about putting Cosworth fins on my LX.
Oh, yeah.
Who needs the
Oh,
engine?
yeah.
All show, no go.
That's right.
But I had the Ford Escort when I moved to LA because when I got divorced and moved to LA, that's what I had. And so I drove that thing from Ohio to California. Thing worked great on the 405, the 110, and rush hour traffic. I had the Mazda engine in it.
Yeah.
And I remembered I was driving from Long Beach to La Habra for work, and I was on the 405 in the Escort, zipping through traffic in this Escalade, because those were the car to have at the time.
Yeah.
This Escalade almost runs me over, so I had to slam my car in a third gear because it was a manual transmission, because once again, I come from a life of luxury. And I put a flat spot in third gear. Well, my boss's best friend owned a mechanic shop, and so he said he'd just do the clutch for cost, no labor. So he calls me, he's pissed. Where the fuck is this car from? Ohio. Why? Every goddamn bolt's rusted on this fucking thing.
Rounding off every head.
So I get now let me back up a little bit because I know what you're thinking. Don, a Ford Escort LX, it's in the fucking name. It has AC. After all, the LX stands for luxury. I've already pointed out that my first car was a 1991 S10, no AC. Then I went to an 89 Suzuki Somersault. Of course, that had no AC. It comes with a soft top. What the fuck are you going to do with air conditioner and a soft top?
Right.
So here I am, 22, married, got myself the sweet ass luxury car from the buy here, pay here lot. The day I get it home, I go home and I join the air conditioner. First car I've ever owned, air conditioner. Yeah, it's fucking awesome. I'm gonna do a little inspection because after all, I'm building an ambulance at the time. I'm an electrician. I'm going to put my stereo system in here. My ex-wife, who was my wife at the time, she had a Phoenix Gold amp with two Sherwin Vega fucking 12s. We're going to put in the back of this Phoenix Gold amp, two Sherwin Vega 12s. We're going to put in the back of some bitch Solberg box.
Ooh.
And I see a little red wire poking out of the firewall. Huh. What's that?
What is that?
Pull it. Gets real fucking hot, real fucking quick. Smoke starts coming. I freak out, pop the hood, and I see this fucking fire, this dun 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 dun, heading to the battery. It's arcing. I fucking get it undone. The previous douchebag who owned this fucking car ran a 12 gauge wire directly to the battery. Who needs an inline fucking fuse? And guess what route they decided to zip line it to on its way to the firewall?
The AC line.
Right across the AC line. So here's Don's first car ever with air conditioning. And Freon's just blowing away into the fucking...
At least it put the fire out.
So my third car, first one, luxury, it's in the name, LX. First time with air conditioning. No. And you think the buy here, pay here lot was going to give... No. Fuck you, fella. You're paying $100 a week on a car because you broke and have no credit.
Yep.
So I anyhow drove that to California. Then that was the car I had when I moved down here. And my dad said, "Hey, I bought your stepmom's car back in 1996. It was a 97 model year. We're going to sell it unless you want it." Ooh. So started my life out with a base model S10. Went to a base model with upgraded rims, Suzuki Somersault, to a 1991 Ford Escort LX, because LX means luxury with no AC. My dad offered to sell me his 1997 Pontiac Firebird.
Ooh.
Now, before we get excited,
V6?
Melody, bless her heart, she couldn't drive a standard.
Automatic.
1997 Pontiac fired fucking... What was the... Not suite, sedan. 4/6 V6 automatic transmission. AC worked.
3.8, baby.
AC worked, had fucking T-tops. I drove that son of a bitch until I met Carrie, and then things started breaking down. The biggest problem with that, I was getting pulled over. Taillights weren't working. Like, what the fuck? Get home, next day they'd work. Work for 2 months. Get pulled over again. Taillight not working. I called Naples Auto Electric to have them troubleshoot. They wanted $200 an hour just to fucking figure out what the problem is, let alone fix it. So I took that over to a buy here, pay here lot. Got myself, Don, born in a good son, got that silver spoon.
Good silver spoon.
Moved from a 1997, this was, 2013, 2010, 2012. I had this truck when I started working at Stan & Haney. It was a fucking Chevy Colorado beat up dog. It's the one that would stall out in neutral, even though it's 5-speed. These things were garbage. So S10 Chevy, Ford, Suzuki Somersault, Pontiac Firebird, Chevy S10. Thing was a piece of shit. That's when I gave it all up and got my first brand new car ever at the age of 34. Was my 2013 Toyota Tacoma base model, the one with the Camry tires, the one that Advanced Auto Parts uses to schlep parts to your shop. That base model.
Did it still have crank windows?
No, had power windows and cruise control.
Ooh.
I put like 79,000 miles on that thing in 2 years, and then traded it. Then because I was going at computers and then driving 30 miles to the radio station, driving 30 miles home, and then going back to work. I was doing 130, 170 miles a day. put like 79,000 miles in no time, then traded that in on the base model 2018 Taco, but that one didn't have cruise control, but I had AC and power windows, and that was that murdered out black one, and then I traded that for my 2018 Tundra. So in my 46 years, I haven't had a whole hell of a lot of cars. Maybe 6.
So
there's a good question. How old were you when you got your first brand new off the lot vehicle with no more than 50 miles on it? 100 miles
30.
maybe.
So hang on. I want to get in on the first car thing.
Okay. What was your first car?
So
A 1938 Pontiac DeVille?
Yeah, it was a Conestoga fuck you wagon.
Oh, real quick, because we're on the subject. Nice thing about being old, we have these things called photo albums. And when you're younger, you make montages. And exactly as I described it, there she is.
There it is.
Glory.
Ah, look at that. Look at that. Okay.
And also, before Morgan gets to it, I had that
see
exact
that?
same truck when my son was born.
See that?
But it was the 1991 S10 Tahoe with the 4.3 5-speed 4-wheel drive.
Yeah, but you're missing one key element.
Okay.
My brother put American
So-
Racing rims on that son of a bitch.
Oh yeah.
And I had to take my driver's license in a minivan. Why a minivan, Don? Oh, because the S10 that I bought off my father that he took away from my brother, at some point my brother and his asshole friends thought it would be cool to put in a 78 Camaro steering wheel and a 91 S10 and not hook up the fucking horn. And you got to have a horn and you take your driver's license test. And so
Yeah.
learning how to drive in a tiny ass fucking mini truck and then taking your license in a Chevy... Oh, no, not Chevy. Chrysler town what was it? The Carnival?
Town and Country
No,
would have been
the
back then.
Carnival. What the fuck was
Caravan?
The Caravan with the wood paneling down the side, because that says fuck.
So that was a Dodge. The Chrysler was the
Well, there was Town and Country and Pacifica.
so the Town and
Pacifica,
Country,
the new one.
and then the Plymouth was so there was Dodge, Chrysler, and Plymouth.
Just
the
because the
Plymouth was
audience
a
knows my
Caravan.
brother, before I put this away, here's his life of luxury. That's a picture of his badass Dodge Omni that he was driving in the early 2000s. So he had a
Look at that.
he had like a 92 Dodge Omni in 2001. And
Oh, nice.
there's an
nice.
ambulance I used to build. There's a
Very
snowboarding.
cool.
There's me with my long hair. Oh, right. Oh, let's see. It's like a news. Yeah, it's upside down. That's me with my long hair.
This guy.
All right, for next week, I'll bust out the picture of my first off-road toy.
So
which
anyhow,
was a
your first car was a
70
1938 Buick Skylark. No, what was it?
Yeah. Now, my first car was actually a 74 Volkswagen Super Beetle.
You had a fat
But-
chick. Ha ha!
Oh, it gets worse.
For those of you
Super
at home
Beetle.
who don't know, in the Volkswagen world, the uninitiated thinks a Beetle is a Beetle is a Beetle is a Beetle. No, you had the Type A's, the Type B's, and then you had the fat chicks. The fat chicks were the one where they moved the gas cap to the fender well. And the reason they call them fat chicks because they had the super bulbous fucking fenders on them. They had the super bulbous fucking taillights on them. So in the snobby Volkswagen car show world, those are called fat chicks.
Hey, I like big butts and I cannot lie. So at least mine was a Baja. But so check this out. I was 15 years old, about ready to turn 16. My dad's birthday was May 15th.
Mm-hmm.
I found this car and made him take me to go buy it on his birthday, the year I turned 16. So we buy this car, park it on the street outside of the apartment building that my mom and sister and I lived in because my folks had been divorced for 5 years. And I go out to school, to leave for school one morning, to go catch the city bus to go to school. And I'm like, no shit, my car's gone. Somebody stole that thing right off of the street in front of our apartment building before I ever got to turn a tire in the thing.
That
Damn.
sucks.
Oh yeah, it was brutal.
I can make it
That
up to you.
fucking sucks.
I can make it up to you.
Oh,
Listed 4 weeks ago in Cape Coral, 1956 Volkswagen Beetle 1.8 Turbo Classic, 15 grand. This thing is a nice piece. Oval window.
yeah. Not even. Not even. So, so technically, the first car that I ever got to drive, and y'all are sitting down, so we're good. 1980 Dodge Aspen.
Ooh.
It doesn't even register. What the fuck was a Dodge Aspen?
So think Plymouth Duster with
I ain't got to think shit. I got a
square
computer.
headlights.
I'm Googling this son of a bitch.
All right. All right.
Okay. Yeah. You-
So
Was that
I
the car
hated
that
that
Ace
car.
Ventura drove?
it very well could be.
It's like the Timu version of the car that Starsky and Hutch drove.
Okay.
Visually.
Okay, I gotcha. So it was maroon.
What year
And
was
it
it?
had the 1980. Had the 6-cylinder 225 in it, indestructible engine.
Dude, I
and
found
I can
your
tell you
car.
firsthand because I drained all but a quart of oil out of it and all of the coolant out of it, trying to get it to blow up. Drove it for a month and a half with a quart of oil and no coolant in it, and that thing would not die.
I'm looking
Believe
at
it.
your car.
Believe it or not, that was the last production year too.
I'm looking at your car. And the funny thing is on this website's so old, it's got the old school graphics and font. But it has anybody who was a up and comer in technology world in the mid 2000s, we all had a Sony CyberShot camera, and the Sony CyberShot camera put the fucking date and time in the red font in the bottom. This picture of a maroon Zach Aspen, just like you're describing, has the chrome outlines around around the windows and the windshield.
Okay.
This website's date stamped with their Sony CyberShot camera, September 16th, 2006. But yeah, this has got to be the same car you have. It's literally maroon.
All right, send that to me. I want to see the picture.
Okay, you have a computer in front of you, or are you on a phone?
No, I'm on my computer.
Okay, I want to email it to you right now.
Yeah, so Plymouth's version of that was the Plymouth Volare.
Ooh,
Yeah.
fancy.
So
When it's in
so
Spanish,
when I
it's
first
fancy.
got married, my wife had a 79 Volare, 4-door. My grandparents actually had a really nice. They bought it brand new, a Volare. They traded in my grandma's 65 Lincoln for it. You can believe that shit.
What do you think the original MSRP was on a 1980 Dodge Aspen 2-door coupe?
$29.95.
Mike?
$29.95?
Yeah.
At $2,995.
I mean, probably not that far off. You're probably going to know that price better than I am. So, yeah, we'll go 3,200, I guess.
Original MSRP was $5,045.
Okay.
Right now,
I was originally going to say $8,000.
for those of you who are wanting to maybe clear out some space in that garage, you've been, hoarding your retirement all these years. Now it might be time to let go of your 1980 Dodge Aspen. You'll get a cool $1,225 for it.
Classy.
You could probably get that much in recycle value.
Scrap metal.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you this. At the time, I hated that car, but now, if one of them popped up, I would probably buy it because it was the most reliable freaking car that I've ever,
Does that have a straight six in it?
Yeah, it had a 225 slant six. I think it was a 904 automatic. But the one you sent me, I love it because it's got the dog dish poverty caps on it. But yeah, this is a little more purple than mine was.
Dude,
But
if you got the coupe of this fucking, I mean, there's dudes that are tubbing out the rear and putting fucking slicks on the back.
I stand corrected. I stand corrected. The $1,000 is for a beater. Right now on ClassicAutoTrader.com, I can get you a 1979 Dodge Aspen, 49,000 miles. This thing must have been bought and kept in a fucking garage somewhere.
$22,000.
Mike,
25.
this is yellow, classic yellow coupe. 49,921 original
Wow.
49,000 original miles. Let's see here. Automatic transmission. So it's yellow on white. It's got white interior. $29,866. Or $438 a month if you're into financing. Pay as much on a fucking 40-year-old car as I am on a 6-year-old Tundra. Actually, no, it's about $60 cheaper than what I'm paying on my Tundra. What was your next car?
But I guarantee you that motherfucker will last a hell of a lot longer.
Not that my 18 Tundra lasts longer than a 2024 Tundra, hands down, but not an 18.
So my second car was the first one that I bought with my own money. So get ready to look this one up because this car was the shit right here.
Oh boy.
$200 from my wife's best friend's brother. 1974 Buick Estate Wagon. Leather interior.
Ooh, that's like
White.
the family truckster.
Wood paneling. Oh, if you think you hate it now, wait till you drive it.
Think the family truckster, but instead of having 3 headlights on one side, it only had 2.
All right, so
was it puke green too?
White exterior.
I'm looking at a red
I'll
one.
get to the green ones here in a few minutes. White exterior, tan interior, leather. The first car that I owned that had functioning air conditioning, AM FM 8-track, and the pièce de résistance.
Ooh.
Quadrajet 4-barrel topping a 455 Buick big block.
Ooh.
Okay.
So
we're going to play guess that price.
Being of an age, we all know how long the first set of the rear tires lasted me.
2 days. Now, did that have the rear-facing third-row seat?
Yes, it had the rear face, and it had the clamshell rear hatch.
Yep.
Where the window
rolled down.
The window came down, retracted into the tailgate, and then
if you slammed it too hard, the window would break.
Yeah, so the tailgate would lay flat, or it would hinge and open like a barn door.
Dude, that had the same classic Buick badge that my mom's Regal had on it. And that was the crest with the Knight's helmet.
Yep, absolutely.
So I'm on RaleighClassics.com. I'm looking at, this is already sold, so I'll give you the sell price. Website description. This top-of-the-line 1974 Buick Estate Wagon was purchased new at Frank Hawkins Buick in Seattle, Washington. See there? You can relate. It was sold to a Miguel C. Higgins and is currently shows only 66,866 miles on the odometer. It still wears most of its original burgundy paint on the exterior, which matches perfectly with the burgundy vinyl interior, which is all original. This station wagon is highly equipped, featuring power steering, power brakes, power windows, power door locks, 8-way power driver seat, multiple speed windshield washer wiper combo, climate control AC and heat, power tailgate and power rear window, a rear window defogger, which is super important in a big ass car like this, tilt steering wheel, cruise control, dual remote side mirrors, 8M FM 8-track player, original Buick floor mats. This is in 2021. Let's see. Buick floor mats, third row seat, the upgraded 1978 OEM Buick rally wheels. This car sold, and they show a picture. They have all the original documentation, books, window sticker. How much do you think this top-of-the-line 1974 Buick Estate wagon went for, Mr. Mike?
$32,000.
$32,000 in 2021. And what about you, Morgan?
17.9.
This is the first time all night you fucking completely blew it. 50 grand even.
Wow.
No. Oh, wow.
And that
what
was 3 years ago.
Somebody's a sucker.
That was 3 years ago.
Holy shitbirds.
Oh, my gosh.
She's cherry.
So we'll
Super cherry.
so we'll bring me up into the man category like you all have been. So my next vehicle. Oh, so
How much
that
ass
car
did you get in the back of that
developed-
wagon?
what's that?
I said, how much ass did you get in the back of that wagon?
Actually, I didn't get any in that car, but
I do want to go on record to say I
You
had
know,
sex in the cab of the
we'll-
91 S10 as well as the back seat of the 96 Pontiac Firebird. And I'm 6'5", so figure that out.
Ooh, the Firebird.
so my
In
next
the parking
vehicle,
lot of Comp USA.
You
my next
dirty
vehicle
bitch.
was a 1971 F250
And Fort Myers Beach. In the
camper
parking lot.
special.
Across from Lonnie Kai.
The camper special.
Camper special. It had a 390 C6, no bells and whistles whatsoever. But I bought that in 1987. So it was 16 years old. Had the original set of tires on it and the original
Bias ply.
bias plies. Any guesses as to how long those lasted?
Drum brakes all the way around or just in the rear?
It had front disc.
Ooh,
It had
fancy.
the Dana 60 full float rear end in it. So, 3 days, the rear set of tires lasted.
Well, see, I grew up so poor and so jaded that when I was in 16 or 17 and my asshole buddies would trip their tires, I'm like, oh, there goes 3 months off those tires. Must be nice. Like, I didn't want to fucking... Anytime I saw people peeling out, I'm just seeing, like, dollars fluttering down from the sky. Like, nope.
Well, we had a lot of used tire shops in Portland, so,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah, it ain't no
But
thing
yeah.
to go get a fucking $25 tire and get it mounted for $15.
Yeah.
So if you had to guess, I mean, Don's already said that he's had like 6 cars.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How many of you had, Mike?
Ooh.
Well, he just started driving 6 years ago, so he probably had like
Fuck off.
2.
I've also
I just got my
I've
permit
also-
last week, you guys.
I've also bought, sold, and wrecked a lot of cars. So
Let's hold on.
um,
Let's put a time stamp on Mike's age. Mike, your first license, was it laminated or plastic?
plastic.
Okay, you're young. my
Laminated. You had laminated licenses?
yeah, there was a
Licenses?
fucking piece of cardboard with your photo stuck on it, and it was laminated. And it was typed out in your signature, handwritten on it.
Wow.
I remember when the
Mine
plastic
mine
ones
was
came
handwritten
out.
by Henry Ford.
I remember those plastic ones came out. I couldn't wait for my license to expire. But ooh, I'm moving into the future. See those new licenses? Those things are badass. Yeah, I
See,
couldn't
for the,
wait.
the longest time up until I updated it, I had the old Florida license that ran for fucking 15, 20 years.
I had that
or
one
whatever it
too.
was.
I remember the
From
transition.
when I first moved back down here, and then like I think 2 or 3 years later they changed it. But they're
White-
good for what, like 10 years or something like that?
White background,
So
green
up at-
strip across the top, and it did not have the decorative background. If I
Yeah.
remember
Okay,
correctly.
so hold on. I'm pretty sure up until he renewed his the last time, his was like vertical.
Horizontal? No, vertical. Yeah, the
Horizontal.
miners are
Vertical.
vertical.
Eat my shorts. All right, I got to count these out. So why don't you ask Morgan how many cars he's had?
All right, Don, how many?
Yeah, Don.
Okay, so Don's had 6.
Okay, hold
Right.
on. Here's a fun game we're going to add to that. So I've had 6. Out of those 6, the Escort, I'm sorry, the S10 was a 5-speed standard. The Escort was a 6-speed standard. The Suzuki Somersault, I think, was 4 standard. My first luxury line of automatic would have been the Firebird. Then I went back to a Chevy Colorado standard. At the time, Carrie traded in her Mustang standard for the 2005 Volkswagen Jetta, which was a standard. And then I went to my Tacoma, which was automatic, my second Tacoma. So I think out of those 6 or 7, only 3 of them have been automatics. And for those of you at home, automatic was a symbol of having a little bit extra money or good credit. If you were poor or had bad credit, your ass was driving a 4 or 5-speed because they were so cheap, which is crazy because Stellantis is doing so horrible in sales. Did you hear this, Morgan? The 2025 Jeeps, the V6s are only going to come in a 5-speed standard. They're getting rid of the automatics to cut costs because the Jeep line is doing so fucking horrible. And they're getting rid of the... So if you want an automatic, you have to get a 4-cylinder or the limited V8 fucking Hemi. They're doing
wow.
So
I did see
all
an
the
article-
future, which I think is cool, that a lot of kids are going to have to learn how to drive standards if they want a Jeep. But as this person was pointing out, standards aren't that desirable to people anymore.
Well, I
So-
think I sent you all the article about
the
Tacoma
Toyotas
being the last pickup that's going to have a manual in it.
Yeah.
How many vehicles did you have, Morgan, and how many were automatic versus standards? Or in your case, 3 on the tree will count as a standard.
Well, I had to whip the horses, so I mean, does that count for any? So I had the greatest job for a gearhead ever. I worked for a tow company for 10 years.
Oh, so you got shit for cheap.
I bought cars for between $35 and $300 for 10 years. I've probably had 150 cars.
Wow.
And to answer Mike's question from earlier, I've had 6 green station wagons.
Cute green?
Yeah.
I think
yeah,
technically-
The fucking 70s.
So I've
I think
fucking-
technically it's pea
Oh,
soup
yeah.
green.
pea soup green.
So probably my favorite car ever. So we'll circle back around here in a second. Probably my favorite car was a 1973 Chevy Impala. Didn't have like the Caprice with the concave window.
Yeah.
It had the bubble window in the back, and it was pea green on pea green interior,
Nice.
and it had the 400 with a turbo 350 automatic. If I could buy that car again, I would buy it in a second.
I
'Cause
forgot.
that was absolutely my favorite.
I forgot I left out a car because it wasn't in my name. It was my wife's at the time car, but she got it right when we got our annulment. Speaking of luxury, don't want to get jealous. Her dad would go down to, he lived in eastern Kentucky, and he would go to the auto auction, buy cars, and then bring them up to Columbus and put them in the newspaper and sell them out of my apartment. So after I worked fucking 10 hours a day, I had to come home and listen to the phone ring, landline. My phone, of course, he listed. His Nextel couldn't go in the newspaper. So, but he hooked her up with a sweet 1989 Ford it was a 91 Ford Taurus.
Ooh.
Luxury.
That's big pimping. So if I had to put a number on it, I'd say I've probably had somewhere between 100 and 150 cars.
I got a trivia question for you,
So-
Mike. Both of you,
Got my
Morgan and
list.
Mike. Before we get to yours, I got a trivia question for you in the audience.
Okay.
When driving a standard truck with a bench seat with a young lady sitting in the middle, what's your favorite gear?
That would be fourth gear.
Let's see. First, second,
Depending on how
Fourth.
the pattern is, it'd
and
be-
reverse.
Why are you driving in
it'd be fourth
reverse
gear.
so much? That's a fun trick to play too, as somebody who knows how to drive standards but never driven a Volkswagen.
What?
Hey, can you go move my Volkswagen? You're going to have to back it out of the driveway, and you sit and watch and wait. Do you know how to put a Volkswagen in reverse, Mike?
No, I that was going to be one of my first cars. Was going to be like I think it was a 68 or 67
So
Beetle,
now,
but
so
I
are
never
we
got
talking? Are we talking Beetle or
even
air
up to
cooled?
even
I
up
mean water cooled.
even up to the 2012 Volkswagen Jet I had was the same shift pattern. How to put a Volkswagen in reverse.
Was reversed
Well,
in first gear position.
Yeah, it was.
It'd be reverse and then first, second, third, fourth.
You have to push it down into the floor and then put it in first. Reverse was underneath first. So someone who's never driven Volkswagen, most people put reverse in where fifth would be.
Yeah. Or sixth.
So
yeah, sixth.
When I first got out of high school, I went to work for a Euro repair shop. And
hold on, Euro like the how does someone repair a sandwich? I had a Euro for lunch today. It was quite well.
Not a Euro.
He said he worked at a Euro repair shop. Did he not?
Euro.
European.
I thought it said Euro, or as the hillbilly
Smart
said,
ass.
gyro. Can I get a gyro with that
Let
ziti
me
sauce?
get one
and
of
dip?
them gyros.
I want a gyro burger.
Boy, that fucking Kentucky's coming out of your mouth, isn't it?
That's what they call them, gyro.
So the mechanics said, "Hey, go out and bring that 300D Mercedes in." I'm like, "Okay." So I get in it, had a stick on the column and 3 pedals.
Huh.
And being like a 17, 18-year-old kid, I'm looking at the thing and I'm like, I'm not going to let these guys, humiliate me. I'm going to figure this shit out. Never driven a 3 on the tree in my life. Sat there for about 10 minutes with this car running. And I look over at the windows in the shop, and there's all the service writers and every one of the techs standing at the window laughing their asses off because this kid couldn't figure out how to make the thing go.
Meanwhile, he's dying of carbon
finally
monoxide poisoning because the mufflers on this cars back then sucked. They didn't have the catalytic converters. He's died of
It was
O2.
puking black smoke out the tailpipe because it was a diesel. And finally, this old tech came out, and he's like, "You never seen one of these, have you?" And I'm like, "Fuck, I don't know what this is." And he's like, "Think about a 4 on the floor, just sideways." And I'm like, "Okay." So I figured out how to drive a 3 on the tree by this old guy telling me, take what's this way and turn it this way.
Yep.
And it'll make sense to you.
A friend of mine had a 1942 Ford Willys, i.e. a World War II Jeep, and it was a rarity. It was 3 on the tree. It did not have the standard 4 on the floor like most of them.
That was
okay.
That was what my square body
So it
was.
It was a Ford-made Jeep from
VW?
1942. No, it was a World War II era Jeep, but it was made by Ford in 1942.
Right. Because Willys couldn't keep up with it. So Ford, but they were called GPWs.
Yeah, GPWs.
Yeah, that was how I learned how to, when I bought the truck, I had never, I had driven, tried to drive stick before, but never really driven one. And I got in the truck. Well, he took me down the road because I was like, I've never seen this before. And he was like, all right, I'll show you how to make it work. And he showed me how to shift it and where reverse was and all that stuff. And he was like, just don't go too far and whatever. So he turns around, parks off the side of the road. We switch and I get in. And of course I'm rocking it back and forth and stalling it out every 5 seconds. But he's like, just ease out on he's just this old country boy from North Carolina. And I finally figured it out, and that was how a 3 on the tree was how I learned how to drive stick, technically.
Okay, that's a good question. The first vehicle you drove or learned to drive in, I, coming from a long line of silver spoon and white privilege, I learned to drive at the age of 12 because my mom lived down on the Ohio River in a trailer, and she was dating that was her second husband at the time. He's a fine, upstanding alcoholic. And when you live out in the country and you have country roads, and well, you'd rather drink and light a bowl while you're driving down the street. But the problem is, you're in a 1982 Ford Escort, not an LX, because no luxury there. But of course, no AC, so your windows are rolled down. It's a hot Kentucky day. The damn, you're trying to drive, you can't drive, and so you look over at the kid who's 12, say, "Hey, you know how to drive?" No, you want to learn? So as I'm learning how to drive a 5-speed 1989 Ford Escort, he's over there burning one down and driving. Yeah, so I basically learned.
And it's hard to light a bowl while you're driving with the windows down.
And it's a 5-speed, so you got to shift. To this day, I can steer a car with my knees. That's how you know
you can shift gears, steer a car, smoke a cigarette,
drink a Big Mac, and load CDs in my CD changer all at the same time. Yep. And kids nowadays can't text and drive with a car that has fucking blind spot sensors, automatic adjusting cruise control, fucking crumple zone airbags, GPS, a fucking make-believe mummy that drives for them. That's too much. It's multitasking. Please. But yeah.
All right.
So, Morgan, who taught you how to drive, and what country road was it on? Morgan? You froze up.
Me?
Who taught you how to drive?
So I learned how to drive. Well, I learned from both my mom and my dad. My mom had a Datsun 710, 1976. And I finally told her, I'm like, I'm not going to drive with you anymore because you're absolutely insane and unreasonable. So I called my dad, and of course they'd been divorced for like 5 years at the time. And I'm like, Dad, I really need to teach, have you teach me how to drive because Mom
is absolutely insane and completely unreasonable. Yeah, that's why I left her, son.
And he's like, okay. So he had a 1976 Toyota Corona station wagon.
Ooh, that's where it all started for you. That's where it came from.
Yeah, well, that's what every,
working class family had.
40-year-old guy wants to drive, after he's been divorced and, trying to put his life back together.
They don't call him a pussy wagon for nothing, fella.
So those are the two cars I learned how to drive in. Now, the first car that I learned how to drive stick in.
And how old were you?
Was 16. The guy that
didn't know you had such uptight parents. Sorry.
Oh no, my parents didn't teach me how to drive stick.
His Boy Scout then master did.
Actually, when I was 12,
why are you driving in reverse?
I got a job at a video store, renting, VHS tapes.
West Coast Video.
My
or
boss had
video?
to let me go because somebody turned us into the state, and I wasn't old enough to be working, so I was 13 at the time.
Oh, I thought you said you're going to run. I thought you were running a bootleg video store. He just turned in for not having a work permit.
No, this was back in the days before Blockbuster.
No, I said bootleg video store.
Well, yeah, no, it wasn't that. So anyway, I worked there till I was probably 17. So when I was 15, this guy had a Mitsubishi Mighty Max pickup with a 5-speed in it.
Nice.
And his name was Bob. And he's like, hey, have you ever driven a stick? And I'm like, no. And he goes, all right, well, I'm going to teach you.
Slide over here in the middle. Let me put it in reverse.
Hey, little fella.
You like Gladiators movies, Jimmy? You ever seen a grown man naked?
Oh, man. No, driving a stick shift, not flying an airplane. So anyway, that's a Mitsubishi Mighty Max 1986 was what I learned how to drive a stick on. So
I'm disappointed. I thought he was going to say a Chevy Love.
Ooh, the
I
love.
actually, I've actually owned six Chevy
I'm
Loves.
sure you have. They were just
So,
rebranded Mazdas.
They were.
Isuzu's,
Those are the same difference.
pretty much. Mazda and Ford were in bed. Chevy
Yeah.
and Isuzu were in bed. So here's a question: what's the first vehicle that you drove stick solo?
Coming from a long line of luxury, um,
Or the silver spoon?
with the silver spoon, my dad started making some money, and he had the aforementioned pontoon boat, which he pulled with his dream truck. He actually got made some money and traded in his Hyundai Accent that he bought when he moved to Ohio, and he got like a 1982 Chevy Blazer, the real one, not the mini, the big
The
fucker.
Okay, the
K5.
The
K5.
K5. He he
Right
would
on.
pull the pontoon boat with the K5 until it broke
Fuck
down, and
yeah.
he took the S10.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I'm talking.
but prior to the S10, when the S10 had just been absconded from my brother and put in my possession, I still had my Temps. And what a better way to learn how to drive than to drive a 1991 Chevy S10 from Columbus, Ohio to Kentucky Lake on the border of Kentucky and Tennessee while pulling a 1991 used Yamaha Wave Runner 3, which was my original 16-year-old birthday. He bought used, but being born under a sign of silver spoon, when my brother turned 18, my dad said, Don and I had this discussion. We decided to give you the jet ski for your birthday too. So my used 16-year-old jet ski was regifted to my brother at the age 18. And that's the one I explained in previous episodes. Him and his girlfriend flipped over and the thing didn't run again for 10 years. And it turned out it was a $25 kill switch that no one thought to look at. But anyhow,
Yeah.
so yeah, my learning to drive, with the exception of the alcoholic, my mom's second husband who wanted to smoke a bowl with Tom, I got my formative training while being hopped up on minifins driving from Kentucky to fucking Tennessee while pulling a jet ski on a trailer. You learn how to drive real quick when you're on white line fever.
What about you, Mike?
My driving experience was pretty typical, actually. My dad taught me to drive in his 1980 Chevy Cheyenne Big Ten. Step side.
Okay.
My dad is a motor guy, and he built the 350 in that truck,
Okay.
pulled it, painted it, Edelbrock intake. I don't know if it might have had a Edelbrock carb on it or something like that, but it had an RV cam in it, so it had a little bit more oomph.
Nice.
And my cousin was the transmission guy. He actually owned his own transmission shop for a while. And he built a transmission that would bark the tires in fucking third gear. So,
Nice.
I mean, literally, the interior on this truck was shit because the engine and transmission combo was ripping the dash off of the firewall. So,
Very nice.
and it had I think he said he put it was dual exhaust with two cherry bombs on the
Okay.
exhaust system, so it was very loud, very proud, very American classic muscle truck. And I
So,
learned how to
uh,
drive on my dad's lap, basically, is when I first started figuring out how to steer and, put it in drive and park and reverse and all that stuff. My dad worked the pedals until I was old enough, and by the time I was old enough to start working the pedals and stuff myself, he had sold that truck. So there were various other vehicles, but that was my first experience being behind a wheel of a vehicle. So
I'm not 100% certain because I was like 7, but I just had flashbacks of an old brown beat up Chevy truck, big old massive thing in our driveway. My dad constantly working on it. I can remember seeing the badge. I think it was either an old C10 or an old Silverado. Thing was fucking turd brown.
but yeah, the Big Ten, that was a model that you could, it was like you get the CK 1500s, or C10, K10, or whatever, and then you could get the Silverado, the Custom Deluxe, the Cheyenne, and then I think there were GMC models that you could get as well. But then there were like sub
so,
models
so,
too. Go ahead.
Yeah, so if you go way back, like into the 70s and early 80s,
Mhm.
like Silverado was not the truck.
Yeah, it's not
Exactly.
luxury.
Silverado
It was a
trim level. So
exactly.
you had like Cheyenne, Silverado, Custom Deluxe. There was a bunch of them, depending on yeah,
Your base model was your C10 pickup truck. And then
yeah.
you got a base, or then the Silverado was the step up, and then Custom Deluxe would have been like probably your higher end or whatever.
And
So
all
yeah.
these trucks, all these trucks were bigger than a fucking Tundra. They didn't
Oh,
have
yeah.
many trucks back
Oh,
then.
yeah.
These were big ass 12-foot beds, fucking huge monster fucking trucks. Big old bench seat, and the whole thing just bounced as you drive.
My dad's the tailgate on my dad's truck had chains on it. It didn't have it wasn't a typical style. You pulled the chain loops off,
so with the
and you
hooks,
hung them. And you pulled the tailgate
Nice.
down, and you hung the chains on the old
so
tailgate.
his was like 60s. So that's
It
awesome.
maybe it was an 80s model truck, but maybe I don't know
Okay.
if the bed was changed
Well,
out
they
or
could have
anything
had a
like that.
step
But
side bed on it that might
it was a
have
step side. Yeah,
Okay,
it was a
so
step side bed.
that's why.
It was the step side, and then I remember specifically he had like older Jeep style lights, tail lights
Okay,
that
yeah,
were
because
sticking off to the side a little bit.
the step sides actually had like non-integrated tail lights.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah, and then he had
So the first vehicle,
that truck had dual gas tanks too. I remember that specifically. So
oh, very nice. So the first vehicle that I drove a stick in was a 1981 Datsun 310.
yeah,
And the guy that I worked for at the video store, when I worked for him on Sundays, he's like,
Sneaky Pete.
"Hey, have you ever driven a stick before?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, no problem." He's like, "Hey, why don't you take my car to the car wash and wash it for me?" And I'm like, "Sure, dude. If I don't have to sit here and do nothing on a Sunday, I'll go do it." I'd never driven a stick before, except for
Can't find 'em
the
grinding.
couple of times that I drove Bob's Mitsubishi Mighty Max. So I figured it out, and Portland has a lot of hills,
Mm-hmm.
so wasn't a problem until I get. Not that this means anything to either of you, but anybody who might be from Portland who's listening, going, let's see, it would have been eastbound
And down
on
loaded up
Woodstock
truck.
Street. You get to 39th. There's a traffic signal there. Well, Woodstock has a huge hill that
uphill.
stops at 39th, and then it flattens out. Oh, yeah, uphill. So I'm cruising back from the quarter wash. Light turns yellow at Woodstock and 39th, and then it turns red. I'm the first car.
Uh-oh.
And I'm sitting there, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And the guy behind me is like right on my bumper. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm going to roll back and I'm going to hit this guy and I'm going to be so screwed in the boss's car. So it seemed like that light stayed red for about 5 million years. And I'm sweating it. And finally, so I'm in first gear and I'm like, I can't stall. I can't stall. Light turns green and it was a front wheel drive car. I roasted the tires all the way across the intersection in first gear. And I hit second gear and I'm like,
That's awesome.
and so next question is,
Well, in the interest of time, because we're already 140 minutes into this.
Well, hang on.
oh
I
my
have my
gosh,
list of
okay.
cars.
Yeah, let's hit Mike's list of cars.
I wrote them all
Mike.
out. I'm gonna do
It's
it. Damn
almost
it!
y'all's bedtime. It's 9:00.
All right. So we know Morgan. You've got like 150 cars. Okay, that's fine.
And I
you
come
were
from a line of
fucking tow
luxury.
truck driver.
Yep.
First car I bought, never drove it though. 1997 GMC Jimmy.
Boy, you
Because
had a
I blew
hard
the
on
I
for
blew the
fucking
motor up in
S-Series
the
trucks.
Blazer. and I was going to take, because it had the same motor, so I was going to take that motor out of the Jimmy, put it in the Blazer, and make that work. Didn't end up happening.
Was the hinge on the glove box broke?
Huh?
Was the hinge on the glove box broke?
No, that was my 91 S10. That one was definitely broke.
They always broke. Classic
they were always
hinges.
broke.
Yep. And you had that little metal rod that helped keep that fucker held in place.
Yep. No, mine was plastic. Yours was metal?
The U-rod that slid into the gap that stopped the door from going completely vertical. Yeah, mine was metal, I think. No, it was plastic. Yeah, it was plastic.
So GMC Jimmy was the first car I ever bought, but never drove it. The Custom Deluxe, that's 2. Then I traded in the Custom Deluxe for a 1992 Ford Explorer Eddie Bauer edition.
Ooh, fancy.
What a fucking turd that was. Straight up, too. My dad was like, you're going to kill yourself in this fucking pickup truck, because I was fishtailing and high, it was fucking V8 and all that shit, whatever. So, traded in for the Explorer. Turd. Sold the Explorer because I needed the money. Ended up taking over the payments on my parents' Ford Escape. That was a 2002. At that point, that was the newest car I'd ever owned.
Escape.
Another mistake.
Then I bought my S10 around the time that my son was born. Kept that because it was cash and I didn't need to sell it for anything. I bought my Silverado, was making payments on that. Blew 3 transmissions in that. Let the bank take that one back. Bought a Blazer outright for cash. Transmission went out in that. Swapped that out in 6 hours at work one day. Then I bought my Rogue from the dealership, pre-owned, and then I traded that in and got my Titan. So that's 9 cars from the time I started driving
4 years
now.
ago.
Fuck off. If we're counting cars that, ex-wife and current wife also owned, worked on, or anything like that, there's another 6 cars on that list.
Wow.
So, yeah, the nine that I have owned and bought and sold.
I want to change things up as we get ready to wind things up, just because the early election's going on, and here in Florida they have 2 things that are on the ballot. One of them is the initiative to make marijuana recreational, like it is in a lot of other states. I don't want to talk about whether you want to vote for the thing or not, or if it should or not. I just want to talk about DeSantis is hard against this thing, right? Which is fine. I get it. You don't want to but the 2 excuses, his 2 reasonings for why we shouldn't vote for this ballot to make it recreational. And I've heard him say it on YouTube. I heard him say it in another interview, and my boss actually saw him talk today live in Fort Myers. A, the smell. He says if it's recreational, everywhere you go, you're going to smell it. Well, guess so, Ron. We already fucking do. We've talked about it on the show. That's been an issue since it became medical grade. And every night when I go for a ride, we've talked about being in the gas station, someone smoking, it gets in your car.
Right here.
Apartment complexes.
As soon as I walk out my front door, go on my patio, I'm smelling it somewhere.
So that ship has already sailed, Ron.
Yep.
Maybe not in fucking Sarasota or Naples, but in the rest of the world, that ship has sailed. 2, this is the funny one. The people who wrote this bill, but apparently Florida has no control over before they vote it up or down. The only people who be allowed to legally grow marijuana is the dispensary people. And they've protected themselves where you can't sue them. You mean like how we couldn't sue Moderna, fucking Merck, Johnson & Johnson, any of the other big pharmaceutical companies? So how the fuck is that different than anything else? And 2, people aren't worried about growing their own plants, Ron. I mean, A, if you did want to grow one plant, I doubt the cops are going to bust your balls. And 2, how many people own enough land to be able to cultivate large quantities of pot? If that's your reason why we shouldn't vote it in to make it recreational, is that you can't grow your own plant and you can't sue the people you get your weed from. Guess what? People hasn't been suing people getting their weed from for the last 50 years because it's been illegal as shit. So that hasn't changed. Yeah. And 2, I don't think people are concerned about the ability to grow a couple plants in their backyard. They just want to have the shit and not go to jail for having the shit. That's what it all comes down to. So I just think it's funny that he can come up with the value excuses talking about, the neighborhood's going to go to shit or people are going to get more DUIs. No, it's going to smell funny and you can't grow your own plants.
So, being a refugee from the Northwest, where,
Everything's legal.
Everything's legal, which I will go on record and say that I think decriminalizing anything more than marijuana is a horrible idea. Right now, in my my hometown of Portland, Oregon.
Shit show.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I agree with you, and that's kind of my point. Instead of him using those as, we don't want to. This is a slippery slope. Once you do this, next is heroin, and look at California. No, it's going to smell funny, and you can't grow your own plants. Those are your two reasons.
So, I will tell you this: I was out in Seattle earlier this year, and walking around downtown Seattle with my son and my 3-year-old grandson, smelling weed. I mean, like, it's bad here because medicinal's legal. My next door neighbor has his card. So, he's always roasting a fatty out on his, out on his back porch. And, whatever. But it's like, think about it now. You can't smoke cigarettes within 50 feet of the entrance to a building, right? Everybody's smoking them right at the freaking door.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, what are you going to do? The cops aren't going to come out and bust some guy for smoking a Marlboro Red at the fucking door. So it's like, this is why we can't have nice things.
Yep.
I personally don't care if you smoke a bowl, whatever. It's not for me because federally I've got a CDL. That's not going to work for me. Do I care if somebody else does it? No. But do I care if they do it in proximity to me to where it might skew a drug test for me? I got a little bit of a problem with that. And if you make it to where it's legal, and the other thing about this bill that I understand is that no municipality can regulate where you can and can't smoke it. So Fort Myers can't
hold on.
Lee County.
But why not? Because, haven't they regulated where you can smoke cigarettes? You can't smoke a cigarette on the property of Lee County Health Center.
That's the problem. The way this bill is written, there's a caveat in there that says no municipality can write a law. So basically, what the intent of it was, Orlando can't say you can't smoke weed in the city limits of Orlando. So
to me
that.
I get what you're saying, but to me it's hard to believe because we have, the argument goes that this is a substance that alters one's mind. So is alcohol. So if you can control people not drinking alcohol on the streets or on 4th of July, we're going to allow it. If a municipality can regulate people drinking on the street, how come somebody's got to be able to overturn parts of this and say, well, okay, you can't. That's
the other thing is once it's enshrined in the Constitution, you can't alter the way the bill's written because it's you would have to totally abolish it as a constitutional amendment, kind of like they did with prohibition.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, the way this is written, it seems to be like it's an all or nothing. And that's kind of where I have a problem with it. At its core, I don't have any problem if people smoke weed. Back in the day before, I became a person who, had regulations that prevented it. I truly enjoyed it. So it's it's not like I have a problem, but it's kind of where it becomes an infringement on my rights, to
and that
walk down the street and not have to breathe it everywhere.
and that kind of bolsters
That's kind of
my
where
my view on him, though. It's like, and I get it's not just him. All politicians have to dumb shit down for everybody, right? But I think if you truly wanted people not to vote for this, especially the people who are either on the fence or leaning towards it, you should point out those things opposed to it's going to smell funny. Because, by the way, ever since the medicalization of it, the people who's been doing it illegally for 40 years is like, now I don't have to hide so much. I can do it on my back porch because as far as my fucking neighbor knows, I have a card and it's legal for me now. So just the medicalization of it, even though people don't have the medical cards, it loosens up their concern of getting caught because for all the people think who are driving by, oh, I have a card in my pocket, which is crazy to me because that's what blew my mind, right? When they medicalized, it's like, I thought we medicalized this kind of under the agreement we're going to treat it like alcohol. You can't be driving down Del Prado with a fucking open tall boy in your lap. You'll get pulled over. And yet people still rolling down the street fishbowl in their cars. It's like, just because you have a medical doesn't mean you can fishbowl your car. And the cops know you're doing it because they can smell it because it's blowing through their AC just like it does mine when you blow it out your window.
Sure. So the two big amendments that are on the ballot this year, my problem with them is they're both poorly written amendments, and I don't think that either group that's supporting these two amendments are going to get what they think they're getting out of it.
Well, that's how every law goes, though.
Right, but I mean, these are like exceptionally poor. They don't have, like, if you look at a lot of the prior amendments, there is like details for, it's this and it's this, and they get it so far into the minutia of everything that it's almost to the point of being ridiculous.
Yeah.
These are so vague that it's to the point of being ridiculous.
I wonder if that's an indication of how dumb we're getting as a society. These are the first laws being written in under our fucking idiocracy government. It's just a tiptoe. Exactly. It started out with the weed and the fucking abortion, and 10 years from now, it's going to be fucking probate law and fucking traffic violations.
And the sad thing is once it becomes a constitutional amendment, if it passes, it's so difficult to repeal a constitutional amendment that, I mean, basically, if it passes, it's there.
Yeah.
And, and there's a lot of first-time voters this time around that are pro marijuana. And all they're thinking is, oh man, I'm not going to get busted with an ounce of weed. This is great. And they don't look further into the long-term,
but
that's with the bill.
That's politics in general. I mean, that's on the surface, that's all the information that they want you to know. And then unfortunately, it's all the fine writing and stuff that they don't make it easily accessible to the public. Is the stuff that you have to go looking for yourself in order to get educated on it, to really understand what it is that you're voting for. These, stoners that are 21, 22, 23, 18 years old or whatever, and they go out there yeah, man, I mean, we're gonna be able to smoke wherever we want and do, we'll be able to do all this stuff, man, and it's gonna be fucking cool. And yeah, it's not just as simple as that. There's always more. There's always more. Always more bullshit, especially when it comes to politics.
Junkie.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of this
I'm a
could be
junkie. So
I think the bigger problem is just, as we've mentioned in the past, it's the overall lack of decorum. Look, I'm all for free speech, but we used to have decorum, and I was thinking about this the other day. As a young kid, you intentionally do things to piss people off. That's why 13-year-old boys spray paint swastikas and anarchy symbols. It's not because they hate Jews. They know the swastika fucking pisses people off. That's why anytime you see a swastika spray paint on the wall, no, there's no Nazis in your neighborhood. There's just a bored 12-year-old with a can of spray paint. I forgot where I was going with all that. Oh,
Decorum.
decorum. And I was thinking about this the other day. Somebody driving me with the Trump flicking you off after he got shot. That's cool. But do I got to explain to my 7-year-old kid why the future president's flicking her off? You know, I remember, I'm so old. I remember when Roseanne's ex-husband was on that sports show, and it was called
Tom Arnold,
the best damn sports show, period. That was like the first mainstream TV show that had a cuss word in the title. We're like, and we've gotten so far from that now that people just blatantly have stickers that says, "You don't like me? Go fuck your mom in the ass." And it's like, can we have a little decorum? I mean, there's nothing wrong with telling someone to go fuck their mom in their ass, but there are kids in the car, and we've just gotten to that point where we just don't care about the. Not that I give a shit about the kids, but the decorum of, can we have a polite fucking society?
The bumper stickers and stuff and flags and shit about, especially the political ones like fuck Joe Biden and, fuck Harris walls and all that stuff. It's like, it's one thing if you want to have a Trump flag that says Trump 2024 or whatever on it, but the fuck Bidens and the fuck this and fuck that, it's like, everything has gotten so explicit these days.
And not just the kids.
And nobody has any filter anymore either.
Why should a 36-year-old Don have to explain to his 65-year-old stepmother what the shocker is? I shouldn't have had to do that, but I had to have that conversation. It means 2 in the pink, 1 in the stink, Ma.
Oh.
I shouldn't have to be put in that position. But no, it's out there. There's a shocker for the whole world to see.
Are we talking Neapolitan ice cream?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And on that note, we want to thank each and every one of you for hanging out with us for another episode of the What's in Your Head podcast. Please head over to what'sinyourhead.com to find all the past episodes, photos and t-shirts and whatnot. Thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you all next week. And you thought we went away, but we're back here for a moment. Mike, where can people find you on social media?
That would be at Mike Pagliaro 410.
Okay, fucker. No one's going to know how to spell your last name.
That's why my name is Mike being used for a last name, but that handle is so hard to fucking...
It's easier to spell than that godforsaken last name you got.
Yeah, well...
I can't even pronounce it. Why do you think I called you Mike No Use for last name? I don't want to embarrass myself.
Go find Don, and then you can follow me from there.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Don Abernathy 410, and then. Nobody can spell Abernathy. Hey Morgan, where can people find you?
I'm just Morgan Long on Facebook and Instagram, and
we'll make it simple for you all. We're going to add a page to what'sinyourhead.com that will have all of our social media links. So you can head over to what'sinyourhead.com and click on About Us, and then you can find Mike's No Use for Last Name. We actually have a nice bio up there. We just need to add our handles to that. So I'll do that tomorrow. So anyhow, we will talk to you all next week.
This has been a Digital 410 production.